Hello, this is wmpyr. Okay, so in this video, please treat this one like kind of like a podcast segment. And I want to talk about uh, martial arts, street versus sport. Should I say self-defense versus sport? Something like that. Okay. Uh, Very common topic. And let me start off by sharing with you my philosophy. All right. So, my philosophy on this is it comes from my dad. And back when I was going to open a martial arts studio, for the longest time, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to open a school because I enjoyed training too much. I was like, you know, um, my dad had asked me, my mom and dad, both of them asked me. They were like, you're really not doing anything with your life, and you've been doing martial arts for so long. Why don't you open a school? And I remember, I was like, no, 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 no. I don't want to teach. I like working on me. so so but they knew that I have taught people as assistant instructor, because that's part of, if you've been doing martial arts long enough, you're going to get asked to do it in class. It's going to happen, or in your part time, or at home, or wherever. If you do it long enough, it's going to happen. And I have taught many times. I just didn't have my own school, and you know I guess I had kind of as a reputation that I was good at teaching it, or just being a good teacher. So they were like, you should teach it. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, I don't have experience in it. So um, I like, teaching people at home is one thing, but opening a school is, there's a business aspect to it, and I don't know how to run the business part. That's what I told him. And my dad was like, well, that's okay, you can learn that, learn as you go, so it'll be fine. And go ahead and do it. And so he encouraged me to do it. And he was like, look, first, it'll help you if you go to a school, martial arts studio, and watch how they do the business part. And I was like, okay. So I was thinking, okay, I want to watch people that are successful. And I was kind of like, Dad, there's not really super successful ones around here. Some of these look kind of shabby. And he was like, well, that's okay. They have a studio. Even if it's not good, they're ahead of you because they actually have a studio. So, and even if they're terrible, you could learn how not to do things. So either way, you're learning. So he's like, don't worry too much about finding the model school and going, okay, I want to model myself after this school. He said, don't worry about that. Just go to any school and learn from them. So that's the philosophy there. That's the mindset there. You can learn from anybody. If they're terrible, then you learn how not to do things. So basically, if you have the right attitude, you can learn from anybody, from anything. And that is so important to me. So with styles, people are always concerned about the best style, which style is better, which style works, which style doesn't work. Well, if you use my dad's philosophy there, style doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter if it's the worst style in the world, because once again, you learn how not to do things. So that is my philosophy. So when people talk about sport versus martial arts, they're creating a division, right? Sport martial arts versus traditional martial arts, or self-defense martial arts versus, you're making a divider. And the way for me is, I cross train. So I train in multiple different styles. And when you do that, one of the key ways, the first thing that you got to do is you got to go in there and empty your cup. Okay? So that's the saying. If you don't empty your cup, how can you taste their tea, right? How can you know what they have to offer if you're filled up with just your stuff and you can only see your stuff, then how can you see theirs? So that's the first thing. You got to completely empty your stuff. When I went to a boxing gym, I remember the friend of mine who was a Golden Gloves who invited me there. He said to me, he said, don't do your martial arts stuff here. Don't even mention martial arts. Don't even act like it because you're going to get challenged and they're going to beat you up. So don't do it, you know? And I was like, okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm here to learn boxing anyway. I want to learn boxing. So I'm not going to do martial arts stuff. And I went in there and, you know, I knew I was going to be bad at it because I had zero experience in boxing and that was okay. So I went there to learn, you know? I still got challenged. Still got challenged. But anyway, so that's number one. Okay, how do you do that? Well, you keep your mouth shut about your system. You know, if they ask, that's fine, but you know, give them minimal stuff, not to hide. You're not trying to be dishonest, but you're just trying to focus on their stuff rather than yours. So if you're constantly talking about you, even if they ask you questions and you're like, oh yeah, I did this, that's all getting in the way. So keep your mouth shut. That's number one, you know, and even if you look bad, you're not there to outperform people. You're there to learn. So do it their way. I went to LARPing session. All right. So this is they do live action role playing is what they do. So that, you know, they dress up in armor and they have these weapons, but they have foam on it, and then we do battle, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do that. I want to learn their stuff, and I want to have fun. So I'm there, and then you know they're teaching me how to do their battle, and I assume it's based off of the European fencing stuff, and that's fine. That's fine. And so I face the guy, and then I'm like, okay, I'm doing his Screama stuff. It just comes naturally, so it came right out, and I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, of course I could survive. If not, I could probably beat this guy bad. But I'm like, I'm not here to do a Screama, and I'm not here to win. You know, I'm here to learn. So put it away. And I did. And I tried to do it their way. And of course I got destroyed, but that's okay. I'm trying. I'm going to, you got to start somewhere. And so that's how that goes. You got to put your stuff away. When you go home, in the privacy of your own home, do whatever you want. Try both ways. Try to see, which one you want to keep, which one you don't want to, or whatever it is your brain wants to do with it. In your own home, go ahead and do it. But out when you go to their school, it's their turf. Respect it and do it their way. In your home, do whatever you want. Okay? So that's number one. Empty your cup. Number two is once I get home and I want to mess around with whatever I do and whatever it is that I learned, I want to mess around with that, then I look for similarities. Similarities help a ton because when you start looking at differences, it separates you. And then, you're comfortable with something and you're not, and you start to look down on them, and it's very easy to start going, well, it's because they're stupid. And then you start losing respect for the style, and then you go, why am I doing this? Then you go, mine's better. Of course, you're going to go to your comfort zone. Of course, you're going to go with the one that you spent more time with because no one wants to admit that, you spent 5 years in this one, 1 month in this one, that this is not as good as that. No one wants to, that sucks. You don't have to go there. You don't have to have that kind of viewpoint. It doesn't have to be pick one like that. It doesn't have to be. So I look for similarities first, and then you're bonding. So if you were put in a boat or a spacecraft, and then you're there with an international student or someone from an international country, and they don't speak the same language as you, you're going to try to get along with that person with what? Similarities. Oh, I do that too. Oh, in your country too. Oh, cool. That's what you're going to do to survive. Same thing here. So you're learning something and you want to benefit from it. You got to view it positively. So look at the similarities. Okay. And then the next step is to start looking at the differences. And that is where the skill comes in. When you can look at the differences and appreciate it and go, that's awesome. They do it so different. And that's great because now my mind's open in a different way. I'm learning in a completely different perspective. Like for example, let me give you an example in grappling wise. Okay, so I'm sparring this guy. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, and I'm facing a guy who's better than me in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So of course they're going to be dominant. You know, they're going to be everything that I do. They're going to be better than me, right? So in that case, if I use pure BJJ against their BJJ, I'm going to lose. But that's when, if I was also training in Sambo, in freestyle wrestling, in catch wrestling, in some of those other stuff, got a completely different perspective. So it doesn't matter, you know, that I'm inside his guard now and I can't pass. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wise, you're supposed to pass his guard, but I can't because he's better than I am at BJJ. So then, you know, I'll start thinking of, hey, let me leg lock this guy from here. So I'll start thinking in Sambo terms, or I'll start thinking in catch wrestling. I'll be like, how can I grind away? You know, of course, in sparring, you don't want to do that because you can make people angry, and it's you know, it can be considered way too rough. That's more for like a street type situation. But at least you'll have other alternatives. You know, other. You're not just that's it. I got nothing else. You know, so that's where the differences come in, and it's awesome. That's where they can really help you. So, you know, embrace the difference is all I can say. And you know, that's it for now. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.